So happy Friday, everyone. On this live, I thought we would go over something pretty cool that I've been doing on the side. About 4 or 5 months ago, Jordan and I were talking about, we were looking at guys like Ross Cameron, and their stories are always like, I started with $123, and in the last month, I turned it into $900 billion. And you're like, what the fuck? This is such a stupid story. You know what I mean? And looking at this story, Jordan and I are like, well, it is possible to grow a small account, right? It's not impossible. And, a lot of people think of it like, you got to really grind it up, all day in front of the computer, grind it up, stare at the charts all day. And what I'm thinking now is, what I was thinking this time is like, well, how would you do it if you were to if I were to start again with a $2,000 account, $3,000 account, what would I actually do? And in the end of the day, it's actually very different than what a lot of these people are telling you. The methodology that, the game plan, I guess I came to the table with was very different. And honestly, Neil just said, a couple of well-placed YOLOs. By the way, guys, make sure you're typing to all panelists and attendees so everyone can see your comments. He said, a couple of well-placed YOLOs. And that's actually not too far from the truth. Obviously, they weren't necessarily YOLOs, but it was big bets. I bet big almost every single time. And that was a piece of this strategy that I implemented. Now, basically, what you're going to see is I grew a $3,000 account into about $8,500 since September 1st. And I'm going to show you my Sharpe ratio. I'm going to show you basically, I produced a document from Interactive Brokers, and I'm going to be showing you this document and going through it with you and then explaining the methodology. And I share this video with you guys because it can really suck sometimes to be trading a small account, spending so much time learning and not necessarily seeing the reward from the work that you're putting in. Even if you're on the right track, it can still suck when it's not turning into money. I understand that completely. And I share this with you to show you that even with a small account, if you really understand what you're doing and are willing to take on risk and are willing to take on that risk, right? So you don't want to be in a spot where if you lose your $2,000 or $3,000, you're out forever. You'd want to have some other, usually you have some other source of income. If I only had that $3,000, I'd probably still play it the same, but I'd probably actually just be using it for food. You know what I mean? It is possible. It's possible to grow a really small account into something that is bigger, right? From 4 to 5 figures to 6 figures. It is possible. So what we're going to do right now is go over this document that I have. So check this out. Let me maybe zoom in a little bit here and open up the chat. Come on, Neil, isn't that your rags to riches story? Going from 4 figures to 6 figures in 1 month, no down days. So check this out, guys. Koa, you figured it out. So I started this account back here at about $3,100. And my ending value is $8,559. And as you can see, this was from September 1st to today. Today's over here. Now, cumulative return, I did 174%. Okay. Best 5-day return or most recent 5-day return, I had a couple good trades recently, did 20%. This month has been really good. I had my worst 1-day drawdown or worst return on a single trade was 5.6% negative. And I actually had a 10% drawdown at one point. Right. So I've taken a couple hits on this account. You can see here, my top 4 trades were on JD, BBY, Goose, SWKS, RH. My bottom performers were JD, LIT, BBY, TXN. All right. We're not going to worry too much about the allocation. But what I think is very interesting is this distribution of returns. Check this out, guys. Right? A lot of the times it was small down moves. But check this out. I had a pretty interesting, pretty fat tail on this side of winners. And it's pretty short here, you know? It's not too serious. And what you can draw from this is like, sure, a lot of the times it was a small winner, small loser, but a lot more than what you would see in a normal portfolio. I had these huge winners and a couple of medium-sized losers, like nowhere near as big as the winners, but about as frequently. And that's going to really come into play later in this conversation because it's a part of the strategy that, like, or the methodology that I was really implementing here. So what you can see here is my return relative to the S&P. So this would be the S&P return here. And this was my return, right? It was pretty awesome. Like it was a really, really awesome run, guys. I don't know what else to say. You know, I'll explain how I did it. And, but awesome stuff. Like I was super happy with it. You know, me and Jordan were like, wow, this is cool. So, oh, check this out. Sorry. One more thing I got to mention for those of you guys that think about risk, I had a Sharp of 4.47 here. Pretty good. So this is from Interactive Brokers. This is like directly from my brokerage. And you can see it down here. It's the portfolio analyst tool in Interactive Brokers. So if we were to look at it as a VAMI, right? Which means if I were to start with $1,000, pretty much what would I have ended up with? I would have ended up with $2,738. My max drawdown was slightly worse than what it was in the S&P, but my recovery was unbelievably better. My mean return was really high, over 1%. But check this out, right? Check this out. Positive periods, 68. Negative periods, 39. Meaning, in this strategy that I ran, I actually only got it right 63.5% of the time. I did have a lot of losers, right? It's not like, you know, hit 90% of your trades, make 1% of trade. Like, this is the real deal, right? This is, tell me if there's anything else you want to see here to show a little more transparency. This is like straight from the brokerage. So any questions about the numbers you're seeing here before I hop into exactly how this sort of came about? All this and the man still using trial windows. Hey, if you want to, you know, if you want to Venmo me $50, I'll get it. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. You guys are making me self-conscious here. Neil, I bought a product code and they scammed me. I couldn't believe it. So a lot of times what we teach you guys is find a small edge and hit it over and over again, minimize your variance, take care of this edge, you win in the long run. Here's the thing though, when you're trading a really small account, if you're trading a strategy like earnings, for example, even if let's say the size of the stocks didn't matter, right? You are paying a lot in commissions and it's going to eat away at your gains, like seriously eat away at it. Like trying to turn a $1,000 account into a $1,100 account, trading 20 times a day in options is like not happening. Your commissions are just going to destroy you. So, and, you know, a lot of the guys here can attest to it who've been trading, you know, more active strategies. Neil, for example, you know, I remember back in the day, you know, before your account hit puberty, you were like saying, you know, man, I can't believe all this commissions. It actually is destroying my edge here. And I took that into account when doing this. So the game plan was this: only take extremely high conviction trades and cut my losers as quickly as possible. That's it. That is actually all I did. Oh, and the one other thing was let my winners run. That was the strategy. I was in Lit. I was in ARC. I was in JD for the guys that remember that. I was in RH for the guys that remember that. All the really high conviction trades that have come around in the last 4 months, I took all of them. And when they didn't work, I cut them as quickly as I could. So if you look, one of my biggest winners, for example, was BBY. No, Steve, I was able to get one lot of RH on. I was able to get one lot of it on in this account. No, these are not equity trades. These are option trades. These are all vol trades. So in all of these, I was expressing a view on volatility. I think maybe on one of them I had a directional view. Tim, I actually don't have like a clear-cut trade journal for it. Cool. I'll tell you about what report this is and stuff after. But anyone who's been around here is like for a while has actually seen almost all these trades. These have all been trades we've talked about. The only thing is I missed out on maybe some gains if you'd taken like the whole distribution of them. But I didn't pay as much in commissions. So what I would look for is things like this, right? That ARC trade, right? Where ARC was, so if you look at ARC and BBY, Pranav, they're actually not my biggest winners. So what I would do is this, right? So for example, so Pranav, Lit was actually one of my biggest losers, but I took it because I had a lot of conviction in it. It's just like I had a lot of conviction in ARC. But the thing is when I took these high conviction trades, right, I would think Kelly criterion, right? I would think using Kelly criterion as like a background methodology. I bet big. So like, for example, on ARC, I was basically all in. On Lit, I was basically all in. I would take really high conviction trades that I was like, I can, if I'm wrong here, like I'm seeing something that hasn't been seen before. And I don't think that's going to happen. And I have really good justification for why I don't. I've seen all the numbers. I know my max risk. I know my payoffs. Keys are on the table. Let's go. That's actually how I did it. And when I was wrong, I got out so quick. So for example, when we got out of Lit, I was actually out of Lit earlier. So Blue, I was using it as like that was like the methodology I was using, because Kelly criterion's really for binary events, whereas this is like a distribution of potential outcomes. So it was the same sort of methodology where like my really high conviction, I was willing to bet more on the trade, and I would only take the really high conviction ones. When you're trading a bigger account, you actually kind of spread your risk more across other ones. Any of these trades really, like any of my losers cost me between 5 and 10%, but my winners were a little bit more frequently with a little bit more size because I'd let them run. Right? So that is really it. And I think the things that I really want to drill into here are none of that would have been possible without understanding what I was really looking at and knowing where confidence should actually come from as a trader. Right? I was not I didn't look at one single chart. I had good people around me who I could bounce ideas off of, who would generate ideas too. Half of those trades, or maybe a little less than half, were not ideas that myself and Jordan came up with. These were, ideas that you guys came up with too, right? That's one of the most amazing things about what's happening here is we have a huge community developing sound ideas that can then bounce those pretty sound ideas off of other people who can critique it in the right way. So I really took advantage of that. That's one of the ways I grew it. And I made, really data-driven decisions here. More or less, what was your trade sizing percentage-wise on that small account? Was probably 100%. Probably between, probably about 50% average. Probably about 50% average. Exactly, Eric. I front ran your ideas with my one lot. Well, no, man. Like, you know exactly how how it would have gone. You know, I would have taken the trades with you guys, right? But you know that one lot moves the market, man. What are you guys gonna pull a Wall Street bets on me here? Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I would say that's really it, right? The number one thing is, in the end of the day, you need to be able to make your own decisions. So you need to have the education, right? You need to have that solid education of volatility, because in the end of the day, that's the product you're trading, and you know, you don't want to just be like in sheep mode. You know, you want to just be looking for the signal. Tell Sean risk was much smaller though. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good point. So, Ronnie, to follow up on the question that you asked, which is how much of my account was I betting on each trade? So it was probably between 50 and 70%, but I wasn't risking 50 to 70%, because if I was wrong, I would cut it as quickly as possible. So I was risking maybe 10% or between 5 and 10% risk. And then I stood to gain, you know, a pretty sizable amount on each of them, right? If I'm looking for, you know, ARK to drop 15 vol points, if I'm right, it's going to pay. And it just so happened I got right. The one thing that I also will give credit to here is there was luck involved. I hit 68% of the time. You know, that's awesome. That's an unreal hit rate. Like in the long run, I probably will not maintain that hit rate. It'll probably drop into the 50s, and that might reflect in my P&L. It was a good run, right? And there will always be an element of that when betting this type of way, but it's what made it possible, right? And this is the real deal about trying to do something like that. You have to embrace that risk. You manage it as best you can. And yeah. I was not selling premium on SPY. Not one trade was on the S&P. It was all single name equities. No, it wasn't all single name equities. SPY was not one of the ETFs that I traded. You know, the big trades, you know, in the ETF space would have been Lit and ARK. Those would have been the big ones. Maybe one other. SLV was one of them. We were short vol on SLV. These were mostly short vol trades. Yeah. So, and Blue, in terms of IV rank, I really don't look at IV rank. I don't think it really tells us much. I'm more so just trying to say, like, where is volatility now? You know, where have we seen it historically? Like, does it get to this sort of level? Why is it at this level? What should happen? What's realized vol looking like? You know, really trying to, and I think my next live is really going to be on this topic, guys, which is painting a picture of what's going on and then overlapping what you think should happen and seeing where there's difference and then trading those differences. Because that's really, really what we're always doing, right? How many trades did I take? Not a ton. So there was not that many trades that I took. So I took less trades than you. So can you talk more on those unique trades, maybe your own ideas that you implemented? Yeah, so there was, you know, what would be an example? It's hard to remember the exact ones. Like the BBY trade, right? It had something to do with the forward volatility. I can't remember, but there was 120 trades, was it? Maybe 120 lots. What were the trade structures? So I used calendars. I actually didn't use iron condors. I was using straddles and strangles. I was, you know, like if there was a blowout, I would have lost, you know, but that's sort of some of the risk that I had to take. Oh yeah, I was leveraged up, man. Yeah, I was using margin, of course. You know, in the end of the day, you can sit there with your $2,000 and pedal away, try and make, you know, $20 here and there, but it's too tough. It's too tough because the commissions are going to crush you, and I think when you're at that size, it's worth taking on that little bit of extra risk, especially if you have a job. If you have a job, $2,000 probably isn't going to put you in the soup kitchen if you were to lose it. Now, for me to have lost that $2,000 it's not like it would have happened in one swoop, most likely. Unless, I happen to be like short vol on GameStop and it fucking moved 40% in one day. Then I would have got smoked. But it didn't happen that way. I'm actually still going to be trading this account. Yeah. I got a margin call once. It was pretty recently. I can't remember exactly on what. I got a margin call on lit. I got screwed. But I had a couple other things going. Yeah, so. Yeah, Blue, you're actually right there. I could have done that. I was okay without it, though, to be honest. Like a lot of the things that I was trading the strangles on were there was a lot of like ETFs and stuff where I didn't think there was as much of that blowout risk. Like trading a strangle on SLV, I'm pretty sure it's not going to 0 and it's not going to 100 unless these Wall Street bet guys get away with what they're trying. Yes, I was for the strangles. Yeah. If my account was larger, would I have changed my approach? I definitely, I would have, because with the approach that I'm taking right now, there is actual blow up risk, right? There is blow up risk, right? If I'm short a strangle on something, and I'm all in on this, and I'm thinking I'm going to cut my losses if I'm down 10% here, or as soon as I get the vibe that I'm wrong, right? As soon as the data is showing me that I'm wrong, like with GameStop, right? Jordan and I were short vol on GameStop last week. The second realized volatility picked up, we were out, right? We waited for RV to come down. IV stayed high. We got in, and then as soon as the RV picked back up, cut it, right? But if I was on a smaller account and maybe I waited one extra day, or if that one day realized move when we did cut it was bigger, I would have been done, right? So when trading more money or managing money, you don't take on that blow up risk, right? So my approach would definitely be a little bit different. I would be sized down. I still would have taken those trades, just not anywhere near the size that I did. And I'd be looking to take on more trades and spread my risk across with a smaller edge, because I would have the capital to play that game without getting crushed by commissions and making it worth my time to actually do it. Jordan, what are you saying more tan and ARC for? Yeah, Ronnie, I only had one or two trades on at the same time for the most part. And it was just things that I really believed in. I had, there's other money I was trading as well. This was just this one account. I was like really, really wanted to grow this. So in your spot, right? I don't know your account size. If you were to say you had a similar size account, I would do something like that too. No, Blue Team, I was not doing that at all. I was either right or wrong, in and out. No rolling, a little bit of delta hedging. Besides that, I'm not a big fan of band-aiding positions. It's not something I really do. So Braun, I would pack on more size in the smaller account, right? Unless the edge was there in the bigger one. Like, I was willing to be a little less confident and put on that size in this smaller account. Pranav, I didn't forget your question, man. You asked about the SLV trade. So SLV vol was just, what was it trading at, Jordan? Do you remember? Like, it was trading so high. It was like at like 50 vol or something, like 50 IV. And for like the 90 day. And we're like, there's no way that this thing's moving 3 or 4% a day. And it took about a month and a half, 2 months, but it came down, and whatchamacallit? I'm having a brain fart. And it returned about 30% on my risk. It was really good. 55 IV, right? So it was just absolutely nuts. It was like past COVID highs. It was insane. Jordan said, when you were all in on short vol tan and arc, how we looked at the risk, and if X happened, you said you would cut it so fast, but you let those run for huge winners. Oh yeah, tan was another one. Tan was another one, right? And we got away with them. They worked out. They were really good trades. A lot of research went into them. We looked at the correlations and all the underlyings. We were looking at the vols, looking at what's the best way to get the exposures we want. What do we think it should be trading at? When are we wrong? What can we expect to happen if we're wrong in terms of actual moves in the stock, a trend maybe, and including changes in vols? Like we were on top of it. We really tried to look at all of our bases. And if I was really confident in the position, I'm like, I'm right here, I'd make the bet. And it worked. Blue. So in terms of monthly contracts or weekly contracts, it actually, there was no preference for one or the other. It did happen that I was trading a lot more implied vol level. It's just something that Jordan and I were spending more time on recently. So it was a lot of longer dated contracts, like 120 days even, really maximizing that implied volatility exposure. And if you want to learn more about that, man, like on our next call, I'd be happy to show you some of that. And maybe if anyone knows a good video where we talk about like lit or arc and can post it in the traders chat, that'd be great so that Blue can check it out. There was an upswing on your chart in the account summary. Was that a YOLO play? It was not a YOLO play. It was not a YOLO play. It was a trade that I would have to kill you if I told you what it was, but it wasn't a YOLO play. I'll tell you that. Or maybe I'd have to kill you if I told you because it was a YOLO play. I'll leave it for you to figure out. Now you need to know. I'll tell you what, Tim. You will never find out what that trade was. I feel like there are a lot of secret trades, man. Well, there's, anytime any of my other strats would fit into the account, I would take it, but yeah. Okay, so Jordan's saying, Sean, maybe you can talk about the differences between an all-in bet and a YOLO play. Yeah, that's really good. There is no difference. There is absolutely no difference. I'm kidding. There's a huge difference. If I'm sitting there at a poker table and I have a royal flush, right? All the cards are on the table. I have a royal flush and I go all in. Is that a YOLO bet? Well, it's not really a YOLO bet, unless you consider like the fact that the guy might fold, part of the YOLO, but exactly, right? You don't get called. Exactly. But yeah, that's what I'm saying, Eric. But, but it's not a YOLO. Jared, I'll get to that question in a second. So the difference between a YOLO and an all-in, a YOLO is you don't have an advantage, right? So for example, spending $100,000 on lottery tickets is a YOLO. Buying GME calls right now is a YOLO. Shorting GME right now is a YOLO, right? Unless you know something that gives you an advantage, you have you don't have a real advantage, right? And then that's a YOLO. So there are times where you bet big, right? You bet according to your edge, right? None of this 1% rule, 2% rule, none of this. You bet according to your edge. If you have a massive expected value if you had a 99% chance of being right, and if you're right, you make 100%. If you're wrong, you lose 50%. And you bet 2%, you're a bad trader. It's actually that simple. That is a bad trade. You need to be betting way more than that. Now, I never had a trade in there that I was 100% convicted on. but I had ones that I was pretty damn confident in. And I bet big. And I bet money that I was willing to lose. I managed my risk well, in my opinion. You know, all you have to do is look at that lit trade, for example. That lit trade, I cut it. Right? It was a huge loser. It could have been, it would have devastated the account. The account would be back to break even, if not lower, if I said, but I'm right here. The vols are too high. It can't trend like this forever. If I didn't accept that I was wrong, even though the data was showing me that I was right, like I was like, I have an edge here. I have an edge here. But the cards were just coming the wrong way, man. They were coming the wrong way, and I was getting smoked. So I had to get out. Now, the really cool thing about that trade is it actually came around again. I didn't put it on in the account because I didn't have the conviction, but Jordan did, Hutch did, a bunch of the guys did. Eric, I think you did too, man. Jared, and it printed. It printed. So Jared asked me why not put all of the trades into the trade journal. So first of all, Jared, you just also, that like, I kind of suck at stuff like that. I've never I even when we were doing the trade journal before, like Jordan was the one filling it out. Honestly, I just didn't do it. This was kind of something for fun. And then also if I did do that, I would have to change some of the trades I took because some of them I wouldn't share. Like some of them were just my own edges that I need to keep. I share as much as possible, but as every good trader should, you find your edges and you got to trade your edges. The opposite, eh? Yeah, exactly. When Pranav buys, I sell. Right? That's pretty much it. Don't worry, Pranav. I'm on the same side as you every time, man. It's just my execution's a little bit better. That's all it is, man. Right? And that's a big thing too, right? Execution, you got to know what you're doing. This is it. Be on top of your game. Be sharp. Understand everything you're looking at. If you don't understand, ask questions, find out. You need to be sharp. Okay? You need to understand what makes something actually have an advantage. You need to understand your risks, your potential payoffs. Once you're in that position, you need to ask yourself, what am I trying to do with this account? Am I trying to, is my goal to actually just build this as big as possible? What is the optimal way to build this right now? What's my timeline for building this? Answer those questions, and then how much you should bet, what types of trades you should be taking will really start to come out of the woodwork. And if it's not coming out of the woodwork, if you're not sort of already started able to think like, okay, well, I would do this, or, this is maybe what I would do, well, then you need to learn more. It's actually that simple. You need to learn more. You need to get a little more experience. Right? Jordan said here, he's like, wow, that's so important. Stay sharp, be smart, be better. Right? You want to know when Jordan gets the most frustrated? I've seen it. It's when he doesn't get better at trading, right? He's like building the terminal, he's working all this other stuff. He's like, fuck, I don't have any time to get better. Get better. He's like, I'm getting better at coding, I'm getting better at all this other stuff. He's like, I need to get better at trading again. So it should be the same thing for you guys. Always aiming to get better. And you will know, right? Like as you get deeper into this game, you will feel yourself getting better. And as you get better, it's not like you just learn more. It's like you actually are getting better. Meaning your performance is better. Right? If your training doesn't turn into performance, then maybe you're not training the right things, right? And that's what that's one of the big things that I had an issue with technical analysis, for example. It's like no matter how much I fucking studied, I never felt like I got better, or I'd feel like I got better and the numbers just wouldn't show it. Yeah, Pranav, that's actually next week, man. I'm gonna actually interview you. You're gonna be our first podcast, man. You're gonna be our first podcast. How about that? So Eric said, I have noticed that when you trade/look actively, you get better at trades. When you slack off, your performance suffers. I agree, man. Well, Jordan and I always talk about this. Like LeBron James, for example, LeBron James doesn't want to wake up at 6 a.m. and go, run 10K. and work out and practice. But the reason he does is when he's lying there in bed, he remembers that if he's not, that every day he's not out there, some other person is, and that person's going to take his crown. See you, Trent. And it's actually like a really common thing with top performers. It's like this relentlessness, right? This absolute relentlessness at the game. And I'm not saying that's for everyone, but I'm not saying you have to be the #1 trader of all time, right? Not everyone has that aspiration, but you do need to get to a point where you can navigate the space well, right? Once you get to that point, there's a lot of different routes you can take, right? So for example, you want to run something a little more systematic, returns little over the market, you can do that, right? You can run a ratio spread strategy. You want to play something with huge variance, high risk to reward, huge expected value, you got earnings, right? You want to go spend your time, set something up nice and go looking for little arbitrages all over the place. You got to be really, really sharp, but you could do it. You know what I mean? There's so many different ways that you can play this game. There's so many different ways to grow an account. You need to be sharp. Jordan said it's called being dialed in. In the old days, traders were always on the phone talking to other traders, being dialed in. Makes sense. Ronnie says, I agree with Eric. I noticed that this is a diminishing skill. If you're not actively getting better, you're passively getting worse. Damn, Eric, I think he just won up your quote, man. He just took that quote, gave it a little tweak. Man, you guys should write a book together. You should co-author a book. So guys, that's really what I wanted to talk about tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I was really excited about it. Hey, Lawrence, good to see you, man. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it gets you pumped up, right? You can start with a small account. You can make money on it, right? And I'm not going to be like, you have to avoid being greedy, blah, blah, blah. Sorry, I'm just reading the comments at the same time. It's just like, get the skills, get the knowledge, work with others, learn, always learn, have confidence, have some faith in yourself, and embrace the volatility. All right. And then you get the crispiest tendies. I am telling you right now, the crispiest tendies. Jordan said here, super important, adding on to Ronnie here, you may only be getting worse because others are getting better. Or you are only getting worse because others are getting better. Damn. Now, if that doesn't motivate you, I give up. Okay, everyone, we're going to wrap it up there. I'm going to go paint this room. I'm painting it a really cool color. I'm going to have the cleanest setup on any YouTube stream you've ever seen. All right. I'll hopefully have that done for next week. Awesome stuff, everyone. I appreciate you all tuning in. Happy Friday. If you have any ideas come up on the weekend you want to chat about, I'm always around. So we'll see you then. See you, everyone.